So this video here is going to be a very comprehensive training video. It's going to cover cold outreach for agencies in 2026. So if you're a B2B agency and you're currently doing cold outreach, maybe in-house or with an agency, and you want to sort of compare what they do to this video here, or if you're looking to sort of get started with it. So for context, my name is Nicholas. I'm the CEO at Scale Sprints, which is the outbound company I run. And yeah, we were certified expert with Instantly.ai. So we're one of the recommended agencies of the largest dedicated cold email tool in the world. So a lot of experience, created hundreds of campaigns, sent millions of emails. So this is just going to cover everything you need to know. And this is the content here. So we will cover basically the entire cold outreach funnel, the 4 levers of cold outreach. I'm going to give a concrete example and then do some cold email math and how that works, metrics that matter, list building, script writing. I will not cover some of the technical stuff like the tech stack and stuff like that and email deliverability. You can find that in other videos I have on my channel. But these are the main things here. It's some of the strategic stuff, some of the high level things that you need to think about, especially if you're a CEO and you're sort of wanting to make sure that this is being done in the right way in your company. So this is the entire funnel that you should be setting up. So I recommend having sort of cold email as the bread and butter of the outreach system. It is the most scalable channel. And you want to supplement that with some LinkedIn outreach because typically LinkedIn outreach is quite strong as well, but there's a lot of limitations in terms of how much volume you can actually do on LinkedIn. So cold email should be the main focus. Now, typically we direct this traffic to one of the 3 following call to actions. So either we ask the prospect to directly book a call, we send them a lead magnet, or we just do an interest based call to action where we just simply ask them whether or not they're interested. Now, what we want to do in any case is we want to take all the interested responses we get, whether these are booked calls, whether they're just people that have requested a lead magnet or just somebody that's interested. You want to add them to a newsletter. You want to basically just have a long list for future use of all people that have responded with interest in the past. Now, also, what you want to do is you want to basically take all the leads that are being generated with cold outreach and you want to import them into a CRM and you want to calculate the percentage of the interested responses that are being generated that are also qualified. This is where you really want to make sure that you're tracking this meticulously because it's really going to matter. If you're generating a bunch of interested responses and it looks great in the CRM, but in reality these are all unqualified or 50% are unqualified, well, it's not really going that well for you. So now after that, you want to implement a really aggressive post reply sequence, like the follow up sequence you do once somebody has said that they're interested. This is probably the biggest issue I see across teams that do outreach is that they get an interested response and they cannot book the meeting for whatever reason. They respond to them, they send this large email, this long email, they say everything they need to say, but the call is just not being booked. And the reality is, it's because people are receiving so much outreach now that you really need to make sure that you're following up with people, that you're staying top of mind for at least 90 days with these people. So that's why for all our clients, we implement a 90-day follow-up plan, which is basically going to, yeah, as the name suggests, going to follow up with the prospect automatically for 90 days. Now, you also want to do very aggressive follow-up right after they've expressed interest, because this is the best time to actually push them towards that call. So typically, once we get the first interested response, we want to follow up with them the next day if they don't respond immediately. And then the day after that. And then 2 days after that, another follow-up. Now, the first follow-up on the first day after the response, you want to basically reaffirm the value of why they would hop on a call. This is really important. You want to position your call as something that benefits them. You don't just want to position your call as just you getting the chance to pitch them. Now, in the second email, you want to focus on sending more details. You want to send social proof. Obviously, it's a bonus if you have like very specific social proof that is relevant to them. And then 2 days after that, you want to send this follow up where you have basically a personalized video for them. If you have the capacity to film that, it's definitely something that increases conversion. So if you have the time to do that, it's definitely worth it. And then also basically presenting a no-brainer offer, like an intro offer, because if they did not respond to these, like the initial email and then the 2 follow-ups here after they've expressed interest, well, that typically suggests that they are at least hesitant for now. You can still get them to book within the 90-day follow-up period, but you want to sort of give them an intro offer. That's going to increase the chances that they're actually going to move forward with you, get a foot in the door. So So that's what you want to do there. But you also want to follow up with every single interested prospect on two different channels as well, which is LinkedIn and SMS. So basically, the way that we do this is we have a way of this is the system we use here at ScaleSprint. We identify their LinkedIn profile and their personal mobile number, and we send these after they've expressed interest. So like it's compliant. We're not sending to people that haven't like expressed interest and want to know more. So we do that. Then we send a long sequence on both of these. The rationale behind this is that typically people have a tendency to respond fastest on a specific channel. So I know for myself, if people cold email me, I will respond to them. But typically, I am better at responding to people that hit me up on WhatsApp. So if somebody is following up with me personally on WhatsApp, I'm more likely to actually go ahead and respond to their follow-ups. So that's actually how I purchased a B2B product myself earlier in the year. So that is basically what you want to do there. Obviously, we want to push everything towards the culmination here, which is for the prospect to book a call. Now, after they book a call, you want to just use Calendly or whatever. You want to send them to a thank you page, and this thank you page should have a 7-minute explainer video and and an FAQ. And you want to build this FAQ on basically the most common questions. So you want to go back to all your previous sales calls. You want to basically feed them all to an AI and then ask it to output the most common questions and objections that you get. And you want to answer these directly on the thank you page. And this is going to tremendously increase the show up, and it's also going to make these prospects more warm once they show up on the call. And you also want to have a pre-call flow, which is basically the same sort of concept. If you can, you want to do some personalized content in the pre-call flow, and you want to send them some relevant case studies and proof as well, so they show up on the call with some pre-existing knowledge. Now, I would always recommend going for a 2-call close with a discovery call and a pitching call, where basically the purpose of the discovery call is to establish a gap, and then the purpose of the pitch call is to present your solution as the perfect fix for that gap. So this is just classic kind of gap selling that I see working quite well in B2B. So that's basically the funnel here. And what you want to go ahead and do, which is the illustration I have down in the left corner here, is the 2-month TAM recycling system we use here at ScaleSprint. So what you want to go ahead and do is you want to find as many people that fit your ideal customer profile as you possibly can. And then you want to go ahead and basically reach out to each one of the leads in your TAM with a sequence every 2 months. So this is like a retargeting system you want to do. The reason why we want to hit our TAM this frequently is because the more emails you send, the more meetings you're going to book. It's as simple as that. That's just the math behind this. And people won't even remember you. If you reach out to somebody in January and then you reach out to them again in March, even though they didn't respond in January, they're not going to remember anything about you in March. And this time they might actually have the time to actually investigate a bit about what you do and book the call. Or they might actually have the problem now. So you're hitting that window of opportunity essentially after, those 2 months when you retarget them. So you want to just do that. This is something you want to just do in perpetuity, basically. Keep hitting your TAM, stay top of mind. This is really the core principle I want to convey here with this funnel is staying top of mind of your market. This is so important. People need to know about you. They're not going to do their research on their own. You need to force this. You basically need to force this into the universe that they need to know who you are and see it very often. So that is the funnel here. Now, the 4 main levers that you have with cold email, these are some of the most important things you can change to get better results. The first one is the offer. Now, I see some people that complain about cold email not working for them. And it's not because you could say there was with any marketing channel, you can say that ads don't work. You can say cold calling doesn't work. You can make this argument with absolutely any channel in the world. The reason why you're not getting any meetings from cold email is because your offer is not good. And you could have a really good offer in principle, but it's just that it's not designed for cold traffic. You need an offer that is specifically designed for cold traffic. You can sell a 5K retainer on one single call if you're doing if you're getting referrals, for example. But with cold traffic, you want to think about how you can position it in a way where they will actually be receptive to it, even though they have no idea who you are, right? So some of the common ones are obviously guarantees, presenting an audit, like auditing their ad account or whatever the case might be. Like these are some of the things that can help your offer stand out. But you don't typically just want to like pitch whatever you do. and just expect them to hop on a call with you so you can pitch them for an hour without any sort of special offer that's capable of generating interest from cold traffic. Now, the next one is the list. So this is also where I see a lot of people messing up, is that they go on a database like Apollo or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and they just get a very basic list. They put in some industry keywords and so on and so forth, and then they have a list and they just start sending. This is a really bad idea. You need to make sure that list hygiene and list quality is the highest it possibly can be. This is one of the most important things in 2026. The reason for that being that one of the biggest factors right now for email deliverability is the amount of manual spam reports you get from recipients. So basically, what that means is if you're sending out emails and you're hitting a lot of irrelevant people and they're reporting you to spam because the email is irrelevant, that's going to completely tank your email deliverability. So you want to make sure that every single individual that receives an email from you is actually within your markets. And the way you can do that is via AI pre-qualification. So using a tool like clay.com, I have a video about that on my channel about how you can actually pre-qualify leads to make sure that every single person on a lead list is actually qualified to buy from you. Now, the next one is the scripts. I'm going to cover that in more detail, as well as these other things here. But for the scripts, again, in 2026, I would say you definitely got to keep it short, to the point, very easy to read. The way that people read emails is that they actually skim them. So their eyes basically glance over it, and their eyes are looking for certain things that trigger their automatic responses. So if they see something like something like ROAS, for example, and they're getting a ton of emails from marketing agencies that promise them a great ROAS, well, they're just going to instantly delete the email because they have this pattern in their mind where if they see the word ROAS, they know it's somebody trying to sell them some stuff they don't want. So you got to be mindful of those sorts of things, and you want to sort of put yourself in the mind of the B2B buyer in 2026. And the fourth one here is the funnel and the flows. So this goes back to the previous slide that I showed as well. This basically is stuff like your follow-up sequences, the way you follow up with people, and also what they see after they've booked the call. So here's an example that we can sort of use moving forward here. So let's say that you are a YouTube agency. Let's say you're doing $50,000 in revenue per month, and you're basically selling 5K per month retainers. So you have 10 active clients here, and you want to double your revenue. You want to get to 100K a month, or a little over $1 million a year for your YouTube agency. So in this case, you'd need to sign basically 10 new clients here. So let's do some cold email math. In this example here, let's say that you have basically set up your cold email system, you're tracking your metrics, and you can see that you're getting approximately one call per 1,000 emails. Now, if you have a 20% closing rate, then you need to send 5,000 emails to generate a client. So this is good information to have. If you know that you need to send 5,000 emails to get one client, that's a really, really helpful thing to know. And so if you want 10 clients a month, well, then you would need to send 50,000 emails a month with this particular math here. And so if we have like 20 business days where you actually send, you need to send 2.5K emails a day. And if we assume that you have a 1 month sales cycle, well, then it would take 2 months to hit this goal approximately, if you can hit these metrics here. Now, obviously, you might not hit these metrics here. Like you might not get one call per 1,000 emails right off the bat. But if you do A/B testing, if you write a bunch of scripts every single day, you always try new stuff, and you're very diligent with this testing process, then you can actually quickly get to the point where you have a script that delivers one call per 1,000 emails. I have one example here, a company we worked with, Coad Agency. And this was actually pretty similar to the example I just showed. So we got them 37.5K in MRR, almost $500,000 in ARR, and that happened in 2 months. So here are the 3 metrics that matter when you're doing cold email. So you want to look at email to lead ratio. So ideally, you want 2 to 3 leads per 1,000 emails. And you can get this even higher, but this is a good thing to aim for. The next one is the lead to call ratio. So this is the amount of leads that you generate, like the amount of top of funnel interested responses that actually turn into calls. This is where, as I mentioned before, a lot of people struggle. But when you do get this multi-channel 90-day follow-up system installed, it doesn't really become a problem oftentimes to get this up to 20 to 40%. And also another one we want to look at is the percentage of calls that are being booked that are actually qualified. And ideally, you'd want that to be 60 to 80%. Ideally higher than that, of course, but this is a good sort of range to aim for initially. And yeah, that is some of the metrics here that really matter when you're doing your cold emails. And two of the most overlooked factors here when it comes to actually optimizing those metrics I just showed you are STL, which is speed to lead, and the other one is follow-ups. And so you want to do this 90-day follow-up system that I showed initially. You want to really create the most effective follow-up strategy you can. And there's a reason why I'm mentioning this so many times, is because this is probably the biggest lever that you can pull right now, in terms of just getting more calls, getting more clients. And also another one is responding within 5 to 15 minutes. This is going to create such a big difference. It truly cannot be overstated. I mean, it's crazy how many more leads you get when you respond quickly. And so yeah, it's just frustrating to see, people that are running cold email for their agency, and they're not following up. They're responding after 1 to 2 days, and then they're like, oh, cold email doesn't work. But they're not doing any of this stuff. They're not actually taking the time. They're not creating a large checklist and then making sure that they're doing all of these things I'm mentioning here. Because if they were, it would work for them if they have a good offer. So what I want to cover now is some tips on list building. How do you want to look at list building for your agency here? So the first question you want to ask yourself is your ideal audience on LinkedIn? Now, the reason why you want to ask yourself that question is because if they are on LinkedIn, if your audience typically hangs out on LinkedIn, well, then a lot of their data is going to be available on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, because LinkedIn owns this data. And if it's on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, then it's also going to be on Apollo, which is basically, I would say, one of the best databases out there. You could argue it's saturated. A lot of people use Apollo, but I still think it's a good database. So what you want to do is you want to use AI optimized keywords in your Apollo search. And by the way, I do have a video as well about how to use Apollo on the channel here. But you want to basically use AI optimized keywords. And what I mean by that is I've created a custom GPT that basically creates all your inclusion keywords and exclusion keywords based on the audience that you have. And you also want to use AI to pre-qualify. This is also what I mentioned earlier in the video. You want to use Clay to have Clay's AI agent basically research every single prospect on the list to make sure that they fit your buyer profile. Now, if your audience is not on LinkedIn, then I recommend that you go for Google Maps. We've actually been very, very confident in our Google Maps campaigns recently. They just have a super high reply rate. People engage. It's like some of these people are not getting that much outreach actually. So, so basically, how this works, you want to use a tool called Outscraper, and they have a lot of different filters. You can find, whatever kind of local business you want, plumbers, law firms, therapists, whatever the case might be, whatever sort of audience you need, you can find that, and you can get their emails with this tool, and it's super effective. I mean, it really gets a high reply rate. We've had actually campaigns with 10% reply rate using Outscraper, so this is a really strong tool. Now, what you can also do is you can ask GPT for industry-specific databases or directories. So you want to go to GPT and you want to put it into its deep research mode, and you can ask it, are there any industry-specific databases or directories given my audience, and then explain your audience. And sometimes what happens is that it can find some very accurate directories that you can then use a tool like Instant Data Scraper to actually scrape all the websites of these companies, and then you can load these websites into a tool like Clay. You can find the right decision makers using Clay, and then from there you can get your list, you can get their emails. So that's a very effective strategy as well. And what you want to do after you have your list of email addresses, you want to use Million Verifier for verification. This is, in my opinion, the best tool out there for email verification. I've been using that for years, and it's been really solid. So the next part here is copywriting. So copywriting and script writing, really important. Definitely something that I think a lot of people are really bad at. But it's fine because it is very difficult. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces here. Like, we have to sort of convey our offer, but we also don't want to seem too salesy, and we don't want to sound like everyone else. So it's really a skill. And that's why you do have to split test. I mean, you could write the best copy and think it's going to convert perfectly. But then it turns out it's not working. And so you just need to write different copies and test what works. It's as simple as that. But here is basically a checklist that you can use for your initial batch of emails. So first of all, when it comes to the offer, you have to ask yourself, is the outcome crystal clear in under 12 words when it comes to your offer? Also, you you want to have a number they can visualize. So some sort of number, whether it's a number of demos booked or revenue or something like that. This typically helps quite a bit. Also, when the result can happen, you need to have some sort of timeline. And basically, what we're trying to do here with some of these things is we want to paint a picture in the mind of the prospect. We don't want to have them guessing too much, because when prospects have to guess about how something works, they typically tend to underestimate the numbers in their own head. So you just want to tell them how much they can get. Also, does it show any effort removed or time saved? These are other core value propositions that you can express. Another one you can ask yourself is, would a stranger look at this offer and think this is a no-brainer? And if you can say yes to that question, it's typically going to be a pretty well-performing cold email. Now, for the hook, this is like the first line. You ideally want to be speaking to a pain or desired outcome, in my opinion, especially if you have sort of a niche issue that you fix. This is a really strong thing to do, because that's going to be the text that it displayed before they open the email. Also, should be under 12 words and easy to read. Should feel like a human wrote it. It should ideally create curiosity. When it comes to the structure and the tone, you want to ask yourself, is the email under 75 words? Are there no big blocks of text? Does it use clear, plain language? Most of the time, you want to avoid using jargon. Some people really love using a lot of industry terms, which can be fine, but you just don't want to flood it with too much complicated stuff, because it has to be super easy to read, even if you want to flex some of your industry knowledge to them. And a good sort of rule of thumb is that, could a 12-year-old understand the value? If that's the case, well, then you know that somebody that's an adult can scan this email and realize the value very quickly. And also, it should be conversational and not overly formal. This is not 2010, so you don't want to send really formal emails. You want to just keep it conversational. In terms of the call to action, you want to make it super clear. It should be easy to say yes to. In some cases, you can literally just say yes, and I will do whatever, like send over some times that we can talk. I'll send over this lead magnet. Like, just make it so easy to say yes to. You want to make it low friction as well. No like commitments that are too harsh. Something I see often is that people have a super short email. They basically provide no information, and then they ask for a call. It's like you haven't actually provided enough information for them to commit to booking a 30-minute call with a stranger. So that's just something you want to generally avoid. If you want to have a super short email, you want to do a vague call to, like an interest-based call to action or a lead magnet call to action. You don't want to just pitch a call with a short email. And also, you want to ask yourself if the call to action matches the tone of the email as well. And obviously, you got to have a follow-up plan here. You got to make sure that you're not just sending one email to the prospect and then leaving it there. You want to have a follow-up plan, and ideally be following the plan that I showed you earlier in the video. So that is pretty much it for the video here. This was some training covering some of the major parts of building and running a successful cold email engine. If you're looking for a company to build out this entire system for you, you can check out my stuff below, scalesprint.io. We work with a ton of agencies, and so I can show you exactly what we're doing in more detail. We can treat the first call as just a consulting call, or me basically looking at what you guys are doing at the moment to acquire customers, and I can see if I can help you. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.